Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 15 of Quattroporte, the review series of course for the super saloons and also sports saloons or sedans depending on where you live that are featured of course on Gran Turismo. And in this episode we're featuring one of the very few electric vehicles that are currently featured on Gran Turismo. I personally strongly hope that they add more electric cars on Gran Turismo 7. I know a lot of younger people find electric cars boring. I can understand that. They do still have some drawbacks, but personally I love the technology and I look forward to seeing where it goes in the future. Now, speaking of technology and advancing technology, this company is at the forefront pretty much of EV technology. It is of course Tesla, which also happens to be my favourite manufacturer of any car manufacturer. And the particular model is the Model S, specifically the Signature Performance. Now, at the time that it was added to the game, this was pretty much the top of the range model. It was before Tesla had introduced all-wheel drive and dual motors and crazy performance and their signature insane mode, which has now been surpassed by ludicrous mode with more power than a Zonda R, better acceleration than a Lamborghini Aventador, while still being able to seat 7. You can see why I like the Tesla. But at the time that it was included, this was pretty much the top of the tree. Rear engine, rear drive, single motor, the Signature Performance. 422 horsepower, 443 pound-feet of torque. Yeah, it's heavy, over 2 tons, not surprising for an electric car, mainly due to the batteries. The technology for batteries is really what's still holding electric cars back. Obviously they're going from strength to strength with that, but it's still the main drawback really, their sheer size, weight, and oftentimes limited range, not so much with Tesla, but usually. Now, one of the good things about the way Tesla utilises batteries really is they don't just stick it behind the seats like most manufacturers do. They actually have it almost in a skateboard arrangement on the floor pan of the car, which keeps the weight extremely low, a nice low centre of gravity, meaning that this car actually handles itself extremely well for such a heavy vehicle. And also, having that weight so low and also having a significant amount of weight displaced over pretty much the entire surface area of the car means that despite being rear engine and rear wheel drive, it doesn't handle anything like you'd expect a rear engine rear wheel drive car to handle like, such as a roof, which has that trademark lightness over the front end. This car just doesn't have that. Now, in terms of performance, it is very limited unfortunately on the game. In a straight line, the top speed's only about 135, which pretty much breaks even with the Fisker Karma, which is of course on the game this car's main rival. Acceleration is very good for an electric car, no way near as fast as the newer versions are in real life, but still pretty good. In real life this version does 0 to 60 in about 4.4. Tesla has now made the P90D, which does 0 to 60 in 2.7 seconds, so this car is old technology now in effect. On the game, the main problem with the car I would say is its PP. It's a little bit too high. It's 518 fully tuned and it's just not quite competitive enough, primarily for top speed at that level. And I really hope that they allow us to tune electric cars on Gran Turismo in the future, because that is the main thing holding them back. Thankfully though, and for those of you who have watched some of my other electric car review episodes, you'll have noticed I've mentioned this before, but for the benefit of those who haven't heard it before, one of the main benefits that many people don't realise electric cars have on the game is that due to the way they work, they have the same top speed regardless of how much you reduce the power by. So in other words, this car does 135 at 518 pp. You can reduce that down to, say, whatever the lowest pp on this car is, I can't remember at the moment, maybe 420 or so, and it will still do 135. Doesn't sound that fast, but at that ultra low pp level, that is one of the quickest cars at that level. Likewise with the Nissan Leaf, the Fisker Karma, the Tajima E-Runner, etc. And that is a good advantage to have. It means it's almost kind of a sleeper car. Not necessarily visually, but in terms of technology. Many people don't realise that that is an advantage that they have, because many people just find them boring, as I mentioned earlier. The car is pretty expensive. It's 92,000 credits, and you can certainly get quicker cars for less money, but the Tesla is one of those vehicles which I would say just cannot be fully appreciated on the game. This car wasn't made for a game. It was made for real life, and the advantages that this car has in real life, and there are so many, are pretty much irrelevant on the game. So many people just end up not using it because of the simple fact that it's not quite as quick as some of its rivals. And that's a real shame, because if we were to be given the updated performance versions, especially the D models or dual all-wheel drive models, they would be so much more competitive. But for now, this is the model that we have. Who would I recommend it for? Well, fans of the car, I would say. If you're not specifically a fan of the car, there's not much point in buying it, because as good as it is, if you're just looking for performance, the fact is you can get faster cars for less money. So that's it for this episode. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.